EMEET PIXY Wireless. The EMEET PIXY Wireless is an all-in-one PTZ camera, that's pan, tilt, and zoom, with built-in AI subject tracking that can be wired or wirelessly controlled from your Mac, PC, iPhone, or Android phone. With a built-in 8-hour battery, Wi-Fi antenna, microphone, and microSD card slot, making it a super easy camera for recording or live streaming from just about anywhere. Let's start with a product tour, then we'll dive deep into the software on both macOS and iOS so you can see all that it can do. And then I'll show you a couple different ways to integrate it into larger live streaming systems, some of which I'm pretty sure EMEET themselves haven't really considered. Let's start with what's in the box. It comes with a handy-dandy travel carrying case, and all you're going to find in here is the camera and a USB cable, USB-C to C with a C to A adapter. That and the quick start guide is all that you need. The camera itself feels nice in the hand, very weighty, hefty in just the right kind of way, in the kind of way that when you set it down, you feel like it is not going to knock itself over as it's spinning its head around. Quick product tour. On the front, you have the microphone port and a status light. On the back, you've got your power button, which doubles as a start-stop record button or as a Wi-Fi status checker. Then you've got a microSD card slot, USB-C, and a microphone port. Looking at the front of the camera, it has two lenses. The one on the left is the one that records the video of you, while the one on the right is the one that tracks you. That's the one that it uses for its AI tracking. To turn it on, all we got to do is hold the button down for a couple seconds. It powers up, and in just a moment, it'll be ready to go. A couple of important technical details. The camera can operate at 4K 30 or at 1080p 60. However, it can only do that when it's wired. That is over a USB connection. When you go wireless, you're limited to 1080p 30, or you can record internally at 2K 30, which is just a little bit higher than HD. It also can operate in HDR mode. So if you're doing outdoor activities like sports, you might want to have the HDR mode turned on just to really get the details out of those shadows. You can live stream using the EMEET app, either from your desktop or from your phone, and you can even multi-stream in the Studio app if you want to. The initial setup, once you unbox it, should be done on a computer wired. So you're going to want to plug it in for the first time so that you can update the firmware and get everything set up. But then after that, you can go all wireless. Configuration is really simple. First, you'll want to install the EMEET app. And then once that's up and running, take your USB cable and plug that into the camera. The software will recognize it. You can see here that I already have a wireless network configured for it, but I'm going to go ahead and connect it over USB. And that's basically it. It is now connected to the system. So from here, I have a ton of different settings that I can play with. Or if I wanted to set this up to wireless, I can do that by simply clicking on Switch to Wireless. The camera refreshes and I'm now in wireless mode. So if I disconnect the camera, we still have access to it here in the EMEET software. It works basically the same on the phone. So let's go ahead and do that. Here in the EMEET app on the phone, I'll tap on the camera icon, add the wireless device. It's going to scan the wireless network and look for any available cameras, both on Bluetooth and on Wi-Fi. It's found two devices. This one in front of me that I just turned on that is ready to be connected. And then the other one, it says occupied by another EMEET Studio app. That's the one that is currently connected to my laptop. So I'll go ahead and connect to this one here. And there it is, ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and switch over this one to the iPhone and get this one powered on as well. To switch this one, since it's already in wireless mode, I just need to disconnect it from the desktop software. That's now disconnected and it should be available on here. Add wireless device, and there it is, ready to go. In the meantime, I'll fire up number 3. Let's put that guy up here and add him as well. There it is, tap connect, and now all 3 of them are online. First things first, let's put all of them into tracking mode. To do that, with one camera selected, I'll go to the PTZ button and switch it from manual control, which I have here, to tracking. It's going to look for me, it finds me, and there it is. Look, it found me. It looked up and it found me. Let's go to another camera, this one here. Again, in PTZ mode, it's already set to tracking. And then we'll check the last one down here, PTZ and tracking mode. There we go. Now all 3 of the cameras are following me wherever I go. Pretty cool. Now let's take a tour of the app. We're not going to look at every last little setting in intimate detail, but we are going to go through most of it. So let's go quick. Starting with the preview at the top, you see that I can rotate it should I have the camera mounted sideways or something and it hasn't interpreted that automatically. I can also flip it horizontally and vertically in there. I have the zoom option here, so this allows me to zoom into the shot. Each camera has its own setup controls. If I tap on the three dots on any camera, you'll see that it has a settings option. And from here, we can get all kinds of information about the camera. This is where I would do things like change the image quality. If I wanted to go to a different resolution, I could add different effects to this, exposure, white balance, and so on, or we're just leaving it in auto for now. Turn HDR on and off, and a whole bunch of other settings in here. You can also change the audio status for each camera from here, but we're gonna look at that later on. From that same three-dot menu, you can start recording, browse the SD card, or change the network on the camera. We're gonna talk a little bit about network switching later on, but everything else in here is pretty self-explanatory. Let's take a look at the buttons on the bottom, starting with PTZ. It's set to tracking mode now, but if I switch it to manual mode, now I have joystick control to move the camera wherever I'd like it. I'm gonna leave it in tracking mode though, because it actually works really, really well. Then you have a variety of beauty filters on here, even face reshaping filters, the ability to record. Now, if I tap record on here, this is now recording to the phone. So as I switch my camera angles in here, it is recording this to the internal camera. This is not recording in each individual camera. To start recording in each individual camera, you need to go into the three-dot menu and tap record for that. From here, you can choose the resolution that you're going to record, again, internally or to the micro SD card, the frame rate, and the maximum recording duration. And once you start that, it starts recording. Next is audio. If you're using your phone, you can monitor the audio through the phone's speaker, not generally a good idea because you'll get feedback, or if you have headphones, wired or wireless, you'll be able to monitor the audio coming through. For the input, you can choose from a variety of different options in here. There's something called free mix, where basically all the different cameras are mixed together, and there's even an auto mix button, which means that the system is going to automatically balance between the three microphones. Or you can take total manual control over this. I'll turn off auto, and from here I could mute individual mics. So let's say that I only wanted to use one microphone on here, I could do that. Now that's just one way to do your audio. You can also bring in audio from an external microphone. I showed you that it had an external port. So the way I'm going to do that is using this wireless mic. This is the new Insta360 Mic Pro. And for this guy, what's kind of cool is I'm actually recording this entire show using this mic. And you might have seen it on here, it says EMEET on it. These are really kind of cute little microphones. They allow you to change through a liquid ink, I guess, an e-ink display, what it says on here, which normally I'd be kind of against, like I really don't want branding on there. But then I thought of an interview situation where you've got like a panel of people and they're all talking to each other and maybe they don't know each other's names. And this is a kind of a cool way to put their names on it. I don't know. It's just a cute little thing. You can put a logo, a badge on there, whatever you want. I've got one here that is labeled as PhotoJoseph, as you can see. So these can be just clipped on, magnetically locked, whatever. This one's already recording 32-bit float internal, but it is also transmitting to this. So this would allow me to now, if we go into the settings and then go to audio, you can see that it says external mic. So that's all there is to that. Now, this camera will be using this microphone. So if that's how I wanted to do the show, then I would go back into my audio and make sure that I muted the other microphones that weren't using that external wireless. Now, all the audio from my live show would only be coming through this mic. The last tab on here is the Live tab. And from here, you can, of course, choose your streaming resolution and your bitrate, and then add a live platform. Stream to YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, whatever you might need. Now, currently everything is connected to my local Wi-Fi. And by the way, a little tip, if you have any issues connecting these cameras to your Wi-Fi, even though they do operate at both 5 gigahertz and 2.4 gigahertz, if you're having any connection problems, then I recommend setting up your network to be split so you have separate 5 and 2.4 gigahertz. Tech like this tends to operate better at 2.4. Sometimes it doesn't auto connect. So if you're having any issues, try that. Anyway, right now, everything is connected to my Wi-Fi network. But what if I'm out in the field, out in the wild, and I want to use my phone's cellular connection to do the live stream? Well, the way I would set that up is by going back into the camera settings, going to the network option, configure network, and then selecting the option on the bottom, use devices hotspot. What'll happen then is we'll be kicking off a chain reaction where I'm creating a Wi-Fi hotspot from my phone, connecting the 3 cameras to my phone's Wi-Fi, and then using the phone's cellular to live stream. And now we're going to connect everything to the computer. I could just force quit the app and that would kind of force the connection to drop, but I actually want to do it cleanly. So I'm going to go in here to each one and just remove each camera from the app. And that way we know that the connection has been removed and it's available now to another computer. So to connect it, all I got to do is take the USB cable, plug that in, the camera sees it, and that's it. Now I'm going to go ahead and switch it to wireless so I can use that same cable to connect the other ones. That is now switched to wireless, so we'll just continue through, plug each one in, connect with USB, select the camera, and switch to wireless. One last one, connect with USB, select the camera, and switch to wireless. Great, now I've got all three of these cameras wirelessly connected to my Mac, just like we had them on the phone, and each one is tracking. There we go. They're all looking at me again. The lights are blue. That means that they're in tracking mode. Looking at the desktop app, to switch the camera angles, you simply click on the button up here to switch them. Now, there is no keyboard shortcut for switching camera angles, and that's something that I've asked EMEET if they can add in, and they've assured me that they will do their best to get that feature added in there. So I think that would be pretty important to allow live switching a little bit more quickly. You'll find all the same controls, your camera mode, manual tracking, and so on. The privacy button, which we didn't look at before, is kind of cute. Let's switch over to this camera, and if I click the privacy button, you'll see that it goes to sleep, just puts its head down and takes a little nap. To enable it again, we'll just click on any of the other buttons, it wakes up, and we're off to work. Let's look at the audio tab here in the computer, because we do have some additional options. If we go to input, you'll see that I have access to all the audio inputs that are available to this computer. This means that I could plug in a professional audio mixer into my Mac or PC and then access that. So if I was doing something like a podcast and I wanted to run my audio through a big mixer, I could do that, plug the mixer into the computer, and pull the audio from there. Now let's talk about live streaming. You've already seen that you can live stream from the app directly, but if you do that, you don't have access to graphics or overlays or any of the other things that make a live show really big. So it's great if you just want to live stream a soccer game so that your family can see it, but if you want to do something a bit more advanced, then you need to integrate this into something bigger. And the way that you do that is through something called virtual camera. The virtual camera allows the entire system, the switching and all, to show up as a single input that you can pull into an app like OBS or ecamm. That way you can incorporate all of this into a much bigger show. It would seem, however, that you cannot incorporate it into platforms that are web-based. So things like StreamYard or Restream or even Google Meet don't see the virtual input. So this is really just for direct software, not for web-based platforms. But let's see how it works. I'll go to the VCam tab and simply enable virtual camera. That's literally all that I have to do. Now I'll launch OBS, and you can see that I've already got my EMEET virtual setup in there, and that's the connection. That is that camera. And if I switch over here and go to a different angle, then of course we're going to see that showing up over here in OBS as well. So pretty straightforward. Just enable that virtual camera and pull it into any other app. But what if you want to use it in something else, hardware based? Well, there's a couple of things. And this is where I get into, I don't know that EMEET actually thought about this. It's kind of cool. First of all, I'm going to bring up my YoloBox here. And the first thing I'll do with the YoloBox is simply connect the camera over USB. Now, this only works with one camera. You can't connect over the USB-B ports, even though you do have the adapter. The YoloBox doesn't like that. But if I take this camera, plug it into the USB port on my YoloBox Extreme, and just like that, it shows up. Now, face tracking is already enabled, and you can actually turn it on or off with hand gestures. It's now just been turned off. You can see it's no longer following me. Give it the hand gesture again, and it re-enables. Now, this works, and I've done this a bunch of times, and I'm confident that I can say that this works. What I'm a little bit less confident to say is that you can kind of sometimes, maybe but not always, also connect the app to it. Now, I've tried this a bunch of times, and it worked sometimes. I'm just going to show it to you in case you find a way to make it work reliably, because when you can control the camera from the app as well, then you get this really, really cool, solid experience. So here's what I have figured out. First of all, I need to go into the USB camera settings, go to camera settings, and you'll notice that it's set by default to 1920 by 1080 at 60 or 30, and it defaults to 60 frames per second. I definitely, 100%, absolutely need to switch to 30p. I've never gotten this to work at 60, but I've sometimes gotten it to work at 30. Now I'll go into the app, tap on the camera, add wireless device. It's going to look for that camera. And you saw how it popped up for a second and said connect and then it went away. That's the rub. Sometimes it pops up and stays, and sometimes it disappears. Sometimes a reboot helps, but not always. So again, I say that it could work, but it might not. But regardless, the camera does work as far as just plugging it in over USB. But this is just one camera. So now there's a way to get all three of these cameras, just like we did with the virtual camera interface, but using RTMP into my YoloBox. Building an RTMP server, turns out it's really easy to do. It literally took me about 10 minutes to set up the software on one of my computers. I actually did it on one of my NAS, but you can do it anywhere. And with that set up, if we go back over to my streaming software, let's turn off the virtualization and go over to live, you'll see that I have something called PJ LAN. And if we look at this, it's a very simple URL. It's just the RTMP server to my NAS with the port that was set up by the software, set to live and stream 1. I'll go ahead and click live on here, and it is now streaming to that local RTMP. This is not going out on the internet, this is just local. So now over here, let's go back into the YoloBox and add a video source, RTMP, and I'm going to paste in the URL that I had saved earlier, tap done, give it a moment, and just like that, it's added in. Now I have my live RTMP stream from the computer going into the YoloBox, meaning I can incorporate these cameras. And as we switch angles on the computer, we're gonna see it switch on the YoloBox as well. Now there is a bit of a delay, of course, over RTMP, so I would recommend not incorporating this with directly attached cameras unless it's for an event that is farther away from the people who are on camera talking. So if you're kind of hosting an event, then this could actually be a really good solution for that. And I also would definitely recommend doing this wired. That's gonna reduce your latency and improve your quality overall. So if you had all 3 of these cameras connected over USB to a computer, you would need a hub for that most likely. And then of course have a wired connection from the computer, which mine, as you can see, is wireless right now, to your network, then you're just gonna get a better connection overall. But the fact that I can RTMP stream from the software, my 3 camera connection into the YoloBox, I think that's pretty cool. The last thing that I want to show you are some camera test results. I'm going to take these out, do a bunch of recording, play these for you now, and so you can see what they look like in different environments. And then we'll come back here to wrap things up. This recording test is at my podcast desk. It says controlled lighting, quite even, still pretty high contrast, but I am in manual exposure now to ensure that things don't shift as I move around. The shot's a little bit wide. You can see a bit of the area up there that's not painted, so I'm going to go ahead and crop in a little bit on the zoom. Even though I'm filming in 4K, that means this is a digital crop, it's still going to look pretty good. The motion tracking or object tracking is on, so it's going to follow me as I move around in here, and if I stand up, then it'll follow me up here as well. And also the audio here is being recorded with the internal microphone, this time with noise cancellation off. So there you have it. What do you think of these little cameras? You know, I haven't even told you what might possibly be the best part yet, the price. These are only $200 a piece. $200. These are really inexpensive little PTZ cameras. Totally wireless, easy to use. You can control up to 3 of them at once from your phone or from your computer, and dead simple to set up, and just I think they're adorable. This is a really cool little product. So let me know what you think in the comments. What type of a show would you use this for? Where might you integrate it? I'd love to hear from you. Let me know down below. Make sure you hit subscribe while you're down there, and I'll see you in the next video.